Welcome to Authentic Educators, a podcast by teachers for teachers about best lessons, favorite classroom moments, and strategies you can use today. Dave and I are thrilled to be back for Season 2. We hope you were able to use something we shared last year to improve the educational experience for both your students and yourself. Our first guest of Season 2 is Ben Browand, a trainer in the challenge course industry for the past 25 years, who since 2015 has worked for the Adventure Guild. I've had the pleasure of working with Ben for 4 years. He leads the training program for my summer gig, facilitating the High Ropes course at my children's summer camp. Ben is our first guest that is outside of what some may call the traditional educational setting, but the team building activities he runs are the perfect entry point to a successful school year. This episode will highlight 2 first week or later activities that any teacher can use. The students and classroom teacher will emerge from both activities with a stronger knowledge of each other while doing so in a fun and energetic format. I've already slotted these in for my first week, and we hope that you love them too. Very excited to be here this week with Ben. I got to work with you for 4 summers now at a summer camp I work out in the summer. And every summer, thank you so much for joining us. And every summer, yeah, absolutely. You start us off with some activities that help us get to know each other a little bit better. And while we were doing it this year, I had an epiphany of this is just perfect for the podcast because every teacher across the country does some version of get to know you type activities. And I've taught for 18 years, and the ones that we've done together, I've never experienced or heard of before. And so we wanted to share that with our audience. So thanks again for joining us, Ben.
Yeah, my pleasure. My job's a little bit different than the teachers that may be listening, where I do summer camp trainings where my trainings are maybe 3 to 5 days, and I have the participants for a full day. And the skills that I'm teaching are very critical, potential life safety skills. So getting people feeling comfortable quickly and refocused, day after day is important to me.
And in the group that we were working with this year, it was 10 people. Obviously, not every classroom across the country has 10 students in it, but I believe that this is scale upable or
Absolutely.
downable to whatever degree that you like. And they're unorthodox. Like I said, having taught for as long as I have, we can kind of I feel like sometimes teachers can fall into a bit stale activities. So we wanted to give you, the audience, the opportunity with this school year just starting to have 3 different choices. Hopefully we'll get to all 3. We'll definitely get to 2. So let's just jump right into it. That first one, I honestly forget the name. I've done it 4 times. I know it's the tennis ball one, which is how I think of it in my head. Right.
Yeah. We call it the group juggle.
Group juggle. There it is.
And just to be upfront, so I did not make up any of these games, and I've used them and have evolved with them for the past, let's say, 20 years or so. So I don't know if it'd be possible to say who initially came up with them, but it never hurts to give a nod to like Carl Ronke and Jim Kane, who both have multiple books out there with lots of team building and initiative activities.
Sure.
So with the group juggle, there's a couple different variations, but in either one, so normally I start out with, you're going to need some throwables, probably about 10 throwables, depending on which one you do. So I start out with something like a Beanie Baby. I have a Beanie Baby shark that I like to toss around, pretty low impact, just in case somebody misses. And we'll use it as first we want to learn everyone's names. So I'll tell the group, we're going to toss the ball around. I'll start and stop with, or the shark in this case, I'll start and stop with the shark. We want to toss it around so that everybody gets the shark one time, and then it'll come back to me. When you get the shark, just say your name. All right, so we do that once. And then we'll do it a second time. All right, we're going to the same person. All right, so the same order. This time when you get the shark, you're going to say your name and the person you're throwing it to, which is the same person you threw it to last time. And then we'll practice the third time. We'll go around, same order. This time you say the person who threw it to you, your name, and then the person you're throwing it to, just so that we get a bunch of practice. We establish that order, and we get to hear everyone's names multiple times. So that helps everyone. So I think it helps people to hear the way each individual says their name and to hear other people
Absolutely.
say that person's name as well.
I had a student in like April one year who a friend of his came up to me and said, "Hey, Mr. Crook," and I forget the student's name, so and so's name's not pronounced that way.
Oh
And
yeah,
I felt so terrible, but the child never corrected me. I
no,
don't know if it was a cultural thing. And so I love that concept of you vocalizing your own name allows everybody in the circle, everybody in the classroom to hear how you want to be identified in the world.
right. Yeah, I find that very helpful. All
So
right, so at this point, we've established an order. All right, and we know some people's names. So
mhm.
from there, we will start. We'll start building up. So I like to ask the group, have you ever seen anybody juggle? They're like, yeah, we've seen people juggle. What's the goal? What's that person's goal when they're juggling? And often we get answers like, let's keep as many balls in the air as they can. They want to not drop the ball. They want to entertain people or look cool. And we're gonna do all those things today. But our main goal is going to be to not drop the balls.
Right.
Right. And as we start, I'll start with maybe two or three balls, using the same order that we just established. And now when we go around, we only have to say the name of the person that we're throwing the ball to so that they know it's coming.
Right.
And like I said, our goal is not to drop the ball. So we start with two, maybe we get all the way back around with those two balls, three balls, and we keep adding until we have as many balls as we can moving.
And then when we've done it before,
Yeah,
like I feel like that by itself is a valuable experience because working at a summer camp over the summer, a lot of kids either do a summer camp or aren't in school, right? All of them are at something. They're
right,
definitely not in school. And in most of those locations, they're probably not stationary all the time. So this is an immediate get yourself out of the seats, doing something different. So I feel like it, especially in the middle or upper elementary school years, but honestly, even up to high school, it's a nice like smooth transition from the movement of the summer into unfortunately in schools sometimes a little bit more of a stationary thing.
right,
Then I remember you throw the curve ball, and this is where you had like
right,
pink and green, which I could imagine in some classes might not work, so you might just want to cut it
right.
where
So
we just got to. But for those that are having an advanced class, what's that next element, Ben?
right. So well, just as a kind of a finish up with this one, if I've
Yeah.
got 10 different things moving around, normally there's going to be some chaos. We'll be dropping some things, and if it's appropriate, I'll pause the group. We can talk about what are some ways that we can improve this. How can we communicate? What's it going to take to make this better? And then I would ask them what would
Hmm.
be a good goal. We'll do it one last time. What would be a good goal to do as best as we can? Can we do it with less than two drops?
Oh,
Can we do it
nice.
with one drop? And like I said, if it's appropriate, because we want to be careful about not shaming people or making the goal so big that it's no longer fun, right? If so,
Right.
for example, it may not be appropriate to try to do it completely perfect if someone in the group is obviously having struggling with some hand-eye coordination, right? We don't want to potentially shame them in
Sure.
front of the group. So another
Absolutely.
variation that I like to do, like Cody just mentioned here, I start out with tennis balls, and I happen to have four green tennis balls and four pink tennis balls. So I'll, just like I started before, establish everyone's names, and then we have a forward direction with the green balls. All right. And I'll build up until I get all four balls going. Okay. Until we get practice in that forward direction. Then we stop, pause, and then I bring out the pink balls. And the pink balls are special because the pink balls go backwards. All right. And earlier we figured out, in the forward direction, I know the person who I threw to and I know the person who I received from. So I should already at least know those two names. We'll do the
Right.
same thing where we build up. Maybe I'll start with two balls and then go three, then four. So we practice both directions. And then by this time, everyone's probably figured out that the next step is to go forward and backwards at the same time. All right. I
Right.
usually pause for a moment and give them a moment to, or I'll ask them, what are some problems you foresee in the near future here as we try forward and backwards at the same time?
I
Right.
like the phrasing of that.
Right. Obviously, the balls are going to have to cross over at some point. Someone's going to be receiving balls from both directions at some point. and we can discuss how we're going to communicate to achieve the goal as a team. All right, and it's a good
Right.
idea to review at this point. What was the goal? All right, our goal is to not drop the balls. Right. So same thing. We'll do that. We'll do that.
I,
Build up again from the beginning. I find it's important to start over from the beginning. We'll try with 2 balls and then 3 balls and build up until ultimately, hopefully, we get all 8 balls going both directions.
I love how two of the things that you said, just thinking it from the teacher's perspective, right, in a classroom, is the idea of setting a goal, right? That's something that every class needs to do in any environment, in any age. And then also that importance of setting like that realistic goal and saying, perfect
Right.
is probably not relevant unless you happen to be teaching at some sort of academy of all athletes. I don't know.
Right.
And the concept of like, I think kids are so petrified of making mistakes that when you
Right.
set a goal that's reasonable, that it allows the kids to be, hey, I dropped one, my bad. I'm not being intentional about that. And
Sure.
so to me, it's just this like really beautiful thing that, what would you say, Ben, if an audience member wants to implement in the classroom, this is clearly not a 1 minute activity. What would you
Right.
suggest that they need to allocate to do? Obviously, you can go at, stage one, stage two, stage
Right.
three. What are you thinking in times for the listeners?
So for me, if I do the forward and backwards one, it's usually 15 to 20 minutes, allowing for some conversation and problem solving between rounds. So
Okay,
it's a
cool.
little more time. But and again, this is also something where you could build up over a couple days if you've got the same group of kids. You could on the first day just do
Right.
a warm up
Come back to
and
it.
yeah, establish an order. Then the second day we come back and we do forward, and the third day we come back and we do backwards or put them together. So
Cool. So I've done this a couple times. Ben's obviously done it way more than a couple of times. Dave, I believe this is the first time you've ever heard of this. Do you have
You
any
know, it's
thoughts or questions? Because you're kind of the audience right now.
yeah. So for our listeners, this is my first time meeting Ben, and Cody told me about this, this guy who came and helped train them at their ropes course at his camp. Or Ben, is it the whole camp in general, or just the folks at the Sky
it's
Trail?
just the ropes course, just the
Yeah,
challenge
and
course training.
so again, pleasure to meet you. I
But
love
in mind,
the sort of fun nature of this and how there's just so much repetition. That's like what's sticking out to me is that there's a challenge, but the goal is working together, not against each other. And I guess the biggest connection I have, Cody, thanks for the question. I've done something like so modified, such a modified version of this that I maybe got from a Tom Stecker class. I kind of forget, but it's called the ball toss name game. It's essentially the same thing, but way scaled down. There's not multiple balls. There's not the colors, which I actually love that add-on because of the challenge. My question was going to be for you, Ben. Briefly, what I've done in the past was ball toss name game. It's just you have to say, here you go, say person's name, you throw it to them, and then they say thank you, they say your name, and then it continues. And the rule that I would set would be you can't throw it to somebody directly next to you, but
of
like
course,
it would
yeah,
lead to these debriefs of where it's like, hey, instead of shooting from the hip, does anybody have any ideas? And a lot of times people would arrive at like to support a student that's maybe struggling, they'll be like, "How about this student starts with it?" And they wouldn't say it like this. They'd that sometimes happen to modify, or they'd be like, "Hey, why don't we just throw it to somebody only 2 people next to us, so that we're not throwing it across the large gap?" Because I've done this with like 30 kids. So creating
right.
those kind of problem
It's a
solving.
big group.
I love like throwing kids into an activity, but then taking pumping the brakes and having the debrief because I think the debrief, especially at the beginning of a school year or the beginning of a camp session is a good way for people to start to learn how do some people communicate, how do some people problem solve. Your leaders emerge right away. Your people that are sort of
Right.
quiet and observant
Yep.
emerge right away, and that's both good for the group and the teacher. Um,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
so my question for you is, correct me if I'm wrong. Are they throwing it with the juggling in any random order, or is it always to the left, to the right, or
It's any random order once we've established that order.
okay?
So
So
we establish an
if
order and everybody gets it once. Yeah,
okay. Oh, right. And that was the thing. Oh, yeah. And I guess the thing I would do is I'd be like, you sit down once you receive it. So that's how you'd know everybody gets it. But
okay.
no. So Cody, with this thing, I've again modification of it, but similar concept because there's the tactile thing and the challenge. But certainly, I've never used more than one ball or the colors and the backwards element, which I love that because I think it's good to challenge people. But it's nice that in the classroom it's not an academic challenge where if you're a kid that's like, let's say, bad at math and you're doing this in a math class, well, you can actually maybe shine if you're good at remembering names and good at working as a teammate
Right.
and good at athletics or something. You actually will have an ability to be in a class that typically isn't good for you, but now you can start off on a positive foot, which any positive experiences kids can have is always a step in the right direction.
And depending where your school is, this is also a great opportunity if you're able to just quickly take your kids outside.
I love going
You
outside
could
for any
do it
reason.
you could do it in a classroom, obviously. You might need to move the desks, might not, but if it's easy to get outside, it just gives the kids a different opportunity to do something
Right. Novel
that
environment. Yeah.
I like the Beanie Baby
correct.
too, Ben. Like the having novel environment, but also like a novel object. Like I'm sure kids are like, oh, I want to get it, right? Like,
Right. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
when I do it with do the activity with uh just different balls, all of my balls are different shapes and different sizes.
yeah,
So I've got some small ones. I've got like a koosh ball. Is that what they call these things?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so there's a bunch of different
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
balls, and then we can have discussion about which ones were easier to catch, hard to catch. And, you can talk about if you want to get deep with it with the kids, different things they're juggling in their lives. Which are important, which are hard. So
Right.
I love it.
So that's the group juggle, and we definitely want to give folks another thing that they can do. And I'd like to move into the curtain one, Ben, which
yeah.
we have not
So
done together. And I think that this is even less setup, less prep, but
right, this
still
is
kind
I
of
would
a really
say
cool first week or two activity for sure.
quick and easy. It's meant to be a name game. The prop that you need is either a small tarp, well, depending on the group size, maybe a big tarp, but you'll need a tarp or a blanket. Something that can serve as a curtain. And think like theater curtain. So what you'll do,
Hmm.
you divide the group in half. So you divide your team and your group into two teams. You and a volunteer in the middle of the room will hold the curtain, let's say vertically, right?
Okay.
Both of the teams hide behind the curtain on either side.
Hmm.
So you don't want the teams to be able to see each other. The teams are going to secretly and quietly, each team will choose one person to come forward to the curtain, and they're going to be in the spotlight. And if you want to have an actual spotlight, like a hula hoop or a carpet square or something, you could have, an actual spot on the ground. But it's fine just to have them up to the curtain. You're going to count to three. You'll say 3, 2, 1, drop, and the curtain falls. You drop the curtain. Then it's a race. It's a duel. It's a race between the two people that came up to the curtain to say the other person's name first. All right.
That's so cool.
So whoever wins. So what I'll often do is whoever wins can be my next curtain volunteer. All right. Plus that team would, say the team gets a point. All right. You'll want to do at least as many rounds as there are people so that everyone gets a chance to come up. And then maybe you do a couple extra ones. You say, now we've got 3 more acts to the play, and they can kind of strategically pick somebody to come up. So it's a good way
Could that
to,
work?
sure.
I love the concept of that, like that dual nature. It's like you're standing there, you're trying to remember who's on the other side of the curtain, who's on the other team. Maybe this isn't maybe it is a first day, maybe it's a week two type activity, maybe it's I've had classes, Dave, I'm not sure about you, where it's always so awkward and uncomfortable where it's like March and you're having a class conversation and somebody's talking and says, "Oh, and yeah, what she," and like awkwardly points and said what she said. I
Yeah.
mean, oh, Sarah, right? So, this could be something that you do even halfway through the year. And I'm trying to think, Ben, have you ever done it? There's so many permutations. I know we discussed on the phone yesterday, but like, are there permutations where you could have like two people come up and it's like both names have to be identified? Have you ever done
Oh,
that?
I
Or
never
what was that
have,
one
but
where it was
yeah,
like there was like
After
that
school.
survival thing where you're saying if somebody gets it
right.
right, they
So
join one side. What was that? What was that?
another option is instead of a point system, the person who doesn't win. I don't want to call them a loser, but the person who doesn't win joins the winning team.
And
right?
it grows in size,
So
right?
gradually the winning team gets bigger and bigger and bigger until ultimately everyone ends up on the winning team, which is kind of nice at the end.
That is cool. I
I
like
like the
that.
idea of this because if you have, right, you have a group of students, whether it's their first year, right? Maybe it's elementary schools joining a middle school. Maybe it's a smaller school district where you've been in the same grade for, the last 12 years of your life. But if you had two groups, the groups are probably going to be incentivized to put forward the more shy students, right? If everybody knows John, right, and you put John
Sure.
forward, like that name is going to come up more quickly. But if it's the more shy person, then you as the teacher, right, can be learning from it and associating the names and the faces and the sounds
Yeah,
of their voices. But so it's just like this brilliant, super concept that I thought would be like a really fun, low stakes, kind of competitive, but also
pretty
just more
quick
silly.
and easy too. Yeah,
And it allows people to get to know names. Like that's to me such an important part of an authentic classroom. It's one where there's community and connection, which are so many of the topics that we talked about in season one of our podcast. And moving in here to season two, I was so happy that you agreed to come on with us to be our first episode of setting the right tone, setting the right pace for a really effective year. Um, Dave, any questions about what was it called? Curtain Cameo? What was the name
curtain
of it?
call.
Sorry, I missed it,
Yeah,
Curtain
Ben.
call. I like
yeah, the
Curtain
that.
curtain
Call.
call.
I
Curtain
think I've
Call.
heard of something like that too called
Um,
Peekahoo in the past,
Okay.
like Peekahoo. But what I like about that, Cody, you asked like, what could you do that first day? To me, that this sounds like such a good like end of the first week thing where there's been enough repetition throughout the week of some of the other things, and then like,
yeah.
like sometimes the first week of school, everybody's building their endurance and their stamina back. So, I feel like this could be a cool like Thursday or Friday. You're
Hmm.
kind of gauging what the energy is like, or if you've finished something early because this is such low prep, you could do as much as you can get done in 5 minutes and
Yeah.
be like first team to three. Or if you had 20 minutes, like maybe you could do the full thing and have everybody go. So I love this as like a end of the first week, or even you pull it out for some fun and the second week. Not to say that you couldn't do it at any point during the school year, just to
Right.
give some
Yeah.
levity and
It's a great
build
like
some
time filler,
community.
right? If everybody finishes the test earlier than you thought would happen, you could just pull this out of your back pocket
Yeah.
at any point in the year.
And I would say like
Ben,
not to
correct. Go ahead,
connotate the
Dave.
term time filler too, because to me there's a negative like feeling that like to me this
Sure.
is valuable. You're building community, you're building rapport, I mean it's like the Dale Carnegie quote, right? The most precious name in any language or the most precious word in any language is somebody's name. So like I agree with you
That's a great
Cody
quote.
that
Never heard it.
when you're in the March in the school year and if there's people that still don't know each other's names, which sadly you and I both we've been in that boat where we've had classes that have been
Hmm.
and we've both experienced the flip side classes where there's a robust community. you know this can
Yeah.
help that, I'm sure, at any point in the year.
Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. Most of the times that you do this with the Adventure Guild, it's with adults or college age students, correct?
In the trainings, yes, because in our trainings, everyone needs to
Gotcha.
be at least 18. But
Before we kind of bring closure to our episode, having facilitated this more than anybody in this conversation by far, are there one or two like main things that you've seen either repeatedly or just in like an exceptional experience where there was value in the activity I would hope most of our listeners out there would be either willing to actively do it or at least ponder one of these two activities, but anything that you would say, hey, this is what I've noticed, this is what I've observed, to maybe convince somebody to actually give it a go.
um, I was going to say, I don't know if this answers the question, but something I was thinking about was just some of the questions, debrief type questions that you can ask during the activities or after the activities. And with the group juggle one in particular,
Hmm.
something I like to ask is I ask the group, what do you think I learned about you as a group during this activity?
I love that.
And
Oh, I love that.
I I find that that kind of takes, instead of asking what did you learn, that kind of takes the pressure off of them. Because when I ask what did you learn, that kind of sometimes they freeze up. But when you ask what do you think I
Mm,
learned, that seems to help. That kind of
about you.
draws out the conversation, and we hear things like, coordinated we are, and you learned our names, and you learned if we're focused today, if we're ready for the day, if we're awake, and things like that. And then another thing I would encourage people to do is stop while it's still fun. Like if, especially with like the group juggle, if it gets to be where,
Mhm.
it's going to take a long time. We're not going to, don't draw it out for half an hour if they're not having fun. The goal is
Right.
fun, to keep
That's
it
good
light
advice.
rather than, have that perfect time around.
Ben, Dave, and I really appreciate you joining us here today on Authentic Educators, a podcast for
It's been
teachers
my
by
pleasure.
teachers about best lessons, favorite classroom moments, and strategies you can use today. Hopefully, we've given listeners out there two great ideas that they can implement in the first, second, or 30th week of the school year. And hopefully, we can have you back on later this season or maybe next season because I know you have more tricks in your back pocket. Thanks
I
so
do.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Authentic Educators, a podcast by teachers for teachers about best lessons, favorite classroom moments, and strategies you can implement today. And stay tuned for more great interviews for our second season.